Do coffins have lifetime guarantees? Maybe they should. So, while doing some pondering, I realized that there are several pieces of gear in our industry that I have noticed that have skyrocketed in value on the used market here in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. And it occurred to me that this is, everything's going up right now, but there are some pieces of gear that have just absolutely, their values have gone through the roof, and it's not because of the pandemic, it's not because of inflation, it's not because of, any of that kind of stuff at all. I'm just talking about pieces of gear whose value has skyrocketed way, way above what it was once valued at. So, I decided that I would put together a list and do a video on it. Here's a list of 10 pieces of guitar gear that are worth way more than they used to be. Some of them are worth stupid amounts of money. In no particular order, here we go. Number 1, Digitech Scotty Ian Black 13 distortion pedal. People are paying upwards of over $150 for this thing. Nothing against Scott Ian. I love Anthrax and Scott Ian as much as anybody else out there. I really do. I'm a fan. But that distortion pedal was. I've seen them. I've heard them. They look cool. They got that shiny chrome finish thing to them, but. People are paying some serious money for these things, and I have no idea why they suddenly became so valuable. One dumbass even paid upwards of $300 for one when you factor in shipping. Holy shit! And whatever phenomenon that is causing the value of this pedal to continue to rise, it also seems to have rubbed off on the old Digitech Dan Donegan distortion pedal called the Weapon, as those prices are suddenly beginning to climb. But I know what you're thinking, and I promise you don't have to worry. The Eric Clapton Crossroads distortion pedal from the same era is still total dog shit. Number 2, DoD Lamb Series pedals. We've got Josh Scott to thank for this one because, speaking of Digitech, the DoD Lamb Series pedals, these came out back in the 90s, and Josh Scott did an entire video on this series of pedals. I think they came out in the mid-90s, and, he kind of affectionately named them the Lamb Series after Jason Lamb, who was the mastermind behind this entire series. And I won't go into detail. I'll link a video to. I'll tell you what. I'll put a link to Josh Scott's video up here in the card, so you can go check it out should you choose to do so. There was a lot of different pedals in this series. Some of them seem to be easier to find than others, but when you do find them, they're all $150, $200 a piece now. You can't. Whereas these things used to sell for $30 if you're on a good day. There's one in particular out of this series called the Corrosion, which is it's a high gain metal distortion. I've been looking for one forever. You cannot find them anywhere, and if you do, you're gonna pay through the nose for them. I'd be willing to bet people pay $350 for it easy. I've been looking for one for several years now. I can't find it anywhere. I haven't even seen one come up for sale anywhere in I don't know how long. And the next time that one does, whoever is selling it is going to sell it in record time for a shitload of money. I guarantee it. Number 3, the Ibanez TS10 Tube Screamer. Ibanez, of course, are known for the Tube Screamer, among other things, but in this instance, certainly the Tube Screamer. As far as effects pedals go, definitely the Tube Screamer. Their name is synonymous with that particular sound. And as such, they have come out with, I don't even know how many versions of it they've come out with over the years. I own several. The TS10, back in my store days, which was not all that long ago, we had several of them come through there, and they all seemed to sell for right around $80 to $100. They were worth about the same as the TS9s were from that era, which again was right around $100. And again, these are going back 30 years. These were made back in the mid '80s. I recently did a video comparing all the different Tube Screamers, and And when I went to go shop for a TS10, because I don't have that one, I saw people are paying $250, $300 for this thing, sometimes even more. Even after it became known that this was John Mayer's favorite tube screamer, they still didn't skyrocket. All of a sudden, the last couple of years, $300, $350, it's a friggin' tube screamer. There's 3 knobs on it. Number 4, PV5150 series amps. Now, I think we can all figure out why the value of these amplifiers has skyrocketed. Unfortunately, in the year 2020, less than a year prior to this recording, we lost the great Eddie Van Halen, and that loss shook the guitar world like crazy. And I think it was pretty much inevitable that there were people that were definitely going to try to cash in on the guy's death and start gouging prices for all of his signature gear. Now, being that the PV5150 series amplifiers were Eddie Van Halen's first amp, those things are, they basically doubled in value, and a lot of times more than that. Those things used to sell in the used market all day long for between $600 and $700. Now they're bringing, every bit of between 12 and 15, depending on condition. Ironically, the 6505 series amplifiers have not increased in value. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that the 6505s are still being made today, and you can buy a brand new 6505 Plus for $11.99. So the used ones are still holding their value for about the $600 to $700 range on the used market. Here's the thing. The 6505 and the 5150 are the exact same amplifier. Yeah, and no, if you I don't care what the forum said. Oh no, they're slightly different. This one's got this value capacitor on it. And this one's got bullshit. No, it doesn't. The 6505 and the 5150 are the exact same amplifier. The only reason that PV changed the name on it is because Eddie ended his PV endorsement in 2004, and that happened to be PV's best-selling amp, and they didn't want to get rid of it. So they changed the name to the 6505, which was a combination of their 65th anniversary and the release of it in 2005. That's what it means. It's the exact same thing. So if you don't want to pay stupid prices to somebody price gouging you over the death of the late great Eddie Van Halen, which makes me sick, by the way, find a used 6505 instead. Number 5, the BC Rich Joey Jordison signature Warlock. Now, as another entry in the broke-ass guitar players cashing in on dead artists department, we have this guy. In doing some research for this video, I decided to look up on eBay to see what these things are selling for. And we're talking completed listings here, not what people are asking in listings that have not sold, but actual sold items, what people have actually paid for one of these. And somebody actually paid $1,250 for this guitar. This is the very same guitar that I'm holding. I think I paid $400 for it. I'm not sure I even paid that much for it, but which is another story altogether. But regardless, the used market on these was probably around $600, maybe $650 on average. I admit I got mine below that, but on average, these things used to sell for half of what people are willing to pay for them now. Joey Jordison, we miss you. We wish we hadn't lost you as early as we did. You were taken way too soon. However, it appears that your legacy is going to live on in your signature gear as people are tributing that by paying ridiculous amounts of money for your guitar. Number 6, Silverburst Gibson Les Paul Customs from the 1970s. Actually, I think I read somewhere that specifically models that were, pre-1985, but it seems to be realistically the 70s models that are the most popular, 77, 78, 79. These things, I remember selling them at the store. They would pop up every now and again. They seemed to sell even then for right around $3,000 to $3,500, give or take. These things are doubling in price, bringing $7,000, $8,000 nowadays. And I assume that we have Mr. Adam Jones of Tool to thank for that. Gibson just released a very limited run custom shop version of the Silverburst guitar that he is known for playing, I believe, is a 79. And Gibson just released a custom shop version of that guitar that sells for about $18,000, literally like $12,000 or something ridiculous. And Adam Jones himself recently teased on his own Instagram account that they are in fact coming out with a production model here in the next few months. I have it on very good authority that is in fact true. No information on what that production model version is going to cost. I bet you probably give you about $3,000, give or take. Regardless, the 70s Silver Burst models are skyrocketing in value. Whether it's due to Adam Jones or not, doesn't matter. Regardless, it's hilarious to me because 70s Gibsons are pieces of shit. Generally speaking, anyway. I mean, let's be realistic here. The 70s are not Gibson's finest era. For the longest time, they didn't even do any 70s reissues because they did not like to acknowledge the Norland era of their history at all. It wasn't until about 2007 when they came out with the RD, Silverburst RD Guitar of the Week that was a limited run of 400. That was probably the first 70s reissue anything that they had ever done. Yes, Gibson did make some nice guitars back in the 70s, but generally speaking, they were pretty rough. You had to sift through a lot of lousy ones to find one good one, both then and now. Please forgive me if I decide to keep my $8,000 and put that towards something else. Number 7, the Dimebag Darryl signature guitars. This mostly applies to the Dean models as opposed to, I suppose the Washburns are probably going up as well. But the Dean models in particular, recently the Dimebag Darryl estate ended their relationship with Dean. There are no more signature, Dimebag signature, MLs, Vs, Razorbacks, all that stuff. They are no more. But even prior to that, even the Korean-made Razorbacks, which is what this is a model. This one's a little bit harder to find. This one's a little bit more rare and a more limited run called the 10K Commemorative. But even the more common ones, like the Dime Slime, the Dime Flame, have all skyrocketed in value. However, the one that really seems to have skyrocketed more than any of them, as far as finishes go, and this is kind of getting disappointing given what it stands for and given the controversy behind it. But all the Rebel flag finished guitars are the ones that really seem to be. I saw a Korean-made Dimebag guitar with a Rebel flag finish that sold for over $3,000 when I was researching for this video. Without getting into the politics of it, the reason why I find that disappointing is because it shouldn't have been acceptable then, but it was. But the 90s were a much, much, much different time than they are now, and I would not want the guitar, or that symbol to be slung over my shoulder when I'm on stage playing anything. Judging by how much the value of those guitars have increased, plenty of people out there seem to disagree with me, and that's fine. But regardless, all of the Korean-made, particularly the set neck through models, the higher end Korean-made guitars, that were Dimebag signature guitars of all shapes and sizes, all seem to have skyrocketed astronomically. To give you an idea, this guitar sold brand new for $999. I bought it brand new. Used market at that time was probably around $600-700. This thing's selling for every bit of $15 right now, and that's if you can find one. So this is one that I'm all in favor of values continuing to rise. Number 8, the Gibson Zack Wilde signature Vertigo Les Paul that I am holding right here in my hand. There is a shot of the headstock. As you can see, it is in fact a legitimate Gibson. This one is number 81 of a limited run of 400 that they did of these. Now, I'm a little bit more biased with this one because I happen to love Les Pauls, and I happen to be a huge Zack Wilde fan. Hence how this guitar wound up in my collection. This is one of the last things that Zack Wilde did with Gibson before he left Gibson and went on to start Wild Audio, which are the guitars he is continuing to play today. Not only did I manage to acquire one, but I sold a couple of these when they were new. These things sold brand new for $22.99 right now. The last one that I saw sold for about $32 or so. There's currently one listed on eBay right now. Some jackass is trying to get $500 out of it. He's relisted it several times. It hasn't sold for that. I don't think it's going to sell for anywhere near that, but it's not going to surprise me at all if it does bring 35 range, 35, 4,000 if he's willing to come down that far on it. It ain't worth $5,000 yet, though maybe one day it will be. Number 9, the Dan Electro Backtalk Reverse Delay Pedal. This thing sells for $350, $400. You know, this isn't new. These have gone up in value quite a bit over the last 5 or 6 years. Inexplicably, by the way. I'm not sure even Dan Electro knows why. I mean, it's a reverse delay pedal. As guitar effects go, reverse delay is about as useless as it gets. You know, but even Dan Electro doesn't seem to have any idea why it went up. You know, but you know, it didn't matter to them. You know, as I was researching this video, I discovered that they took the liberty to reissue this the same pedal. This thing, even the reissue sells for $199. Okay, number 10. And last but not least, we have the Klon Centaur, which is the simplest, most basic overdrive pedal on the planet. I had a chance to buy one several years back for about $1,000, you know, and I almost did it, but I decided that, you know, at that time, $1,000 delay just didn't make any sense. They've, you know, it wasn't too long after that I saw them selling them for $15 pretty consistently. Here, not too many years later, these things have skyrocketed all the way up to people are paying way north of $5,000. Tyler from Music Is Win did a video recently. He bought a Klon Centaur that he paid $5,000 for. If you open up the chassis on these things, this is one of the simplest overdrive pedals on the planet ever. I would much rather just spend $80 on an electro-harmonic soul food that sounds as good or better than any Klon overdrive ever will. Accomplish the exact same thing, and you know, I get there's a collector thing specifically to the Klons, and that's why they're as expensive as they are. But you know, but $5,000 for an overdrive, for a 3-knob overdrive? Are you freaking kidding me? $5,000. No thanks. So there you have it. This video was a lot of fun. 10 pieces of guitar gear that have astronomically increased to stupid values. Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know some other things that that you've noticed have gone up to insane prices. You know, insanely ridiculous prices. Also, please consider subscribing if you have not already. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Camera battery is about to die. Adios. We'll see you in the next video.